Let me see.
Cannot yet, but I'll refresh.
No. Okay.
Still no.
Still no.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Done this in so long that I can't remember.
I've never done one on my channel, so I actually don't know how it works from that end.
What about now? Can you see it now?
No.
Mm-mm.
Not yet.
So what I think the problem is, because I'm able to bring it up on YouTube. I
see it.
Oh, do you see it now?
Yes, but let me see if it's live.
Okay.
It says waiting for Laura Reads pages.
Yeah, that's what mine says too.
Yeah, mine says waiting. I don't know why that is.
Maybe what I'm doing is recording it, but like maybe somehow it's listed as like unlisted, or I don't know. Do you mind if I just stop and create another meeting and start?
Yeah, I see it now. I see it now.
Okay.
Do you guys see it now?
Let me see.
I have the video up, but I don't see if it's live.
No, mine still looks like that.
Oh, mine's up now too. Oh, Kristin's in the chat. Kristin, can you hear us? Oh, she sees it. Well, she's commenting on YouTube. She sees it. There we go. Okay.
All right, great.
All right.
Okay, so I guess I should start. We should start again, should we? Because no one has been able to see it up until now.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th meeting of the Talk Health Society. We are missing our talented and tech-savvy Kristin from Perks of Being a Bookflower. So I just figured out how to put this live to the YouTube channel. So anyway, we are going to follow in the normal tradition of the live show and start by a quick introduction. So my name is Laura. My channel is Laura Reads Pages, and I talk about all sorts of different books on that channel of all genres. So over to Stephanie.
My channel is Stephanie's Bookverse, and I talk about mainly fantasy on my channel. I branch out a little bit, but it stays in the fantasy genre a lot.
My name is Sara, and I try and read everything that I can with my cat Olivia, who's here, and she is snuggling.
Hi, my name's Ysenia, and Kristin, it's green tea. I know it looks a little scandalous, but it's green tea, I promise. But my channel is my first name. I read a little bit of everything. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but today is my BookTube birthday, so woo! I promise you I'll film a video again soon.
Same. Hopefully I'll be filming again soon. My name is Angela, and my channel is Angela Rose Reads, and I read kind of everything, but also the majority is fantasy.
All right. So if you're watching, that's the second time we've done that, but the first time it was broadcast to the YouTube channel. So welcome, everyone. And this month we're talking about Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. Beautiful copies. I love the design of the front cover. So I'll read you a quick description of the book in case you haven't read it, and we'll try to start the discussion by not giving spoilers, but obviously once we get into discussing the meat of the book, there will be some spoilers involved. So Get a Life, Chloe Brown is about Chloe Brown, a chronically ill computer geek with a goal, a plan, and a list. After almost but not quite dying, she comes up with 7 directives to help her get a life. And she's already completed the first, finally moving out of her glamorous family's mansion. The next items: enjoy a drunken night out, ride a motorcycle, go camping, have meaningless but thoroughly enjoyable sex, travel the world with nothing but hand luggage, and do something bad. Wow, I read that so much better than when I did it the first time. So maybe, maybe it's good we started over. So anyway, not getting too much into the spoilers right away, I just wanted to know whether you thought this book did anything differently from other romances that you read, if it had any fresh takes in terms of the sort of characters that are in this book or the plot or the perspective. Does anyone have any ideas about that?
I haven't read a lot of romance, to be honest, so I don't have. I have like 3 books to compare it to, maybe.
Yeah.
But I will say that I absolutely loved. There were like 3 main things. I loved the chronic pain representation. I loved the dealing with an abusive past relationship, and she also had struggles of dealing with like losing people and addressing triggers and things that will come up in relationships and figuring out how to like deal with it in a healthy way and understanding that. Like, I don't know, I don't normally read stuff like that. It's usually just like a miscommunication trope that causes the drama, and then
or like a love triangle.
And then it gets solved once they figure it out. But in this one, like, it's dealing with mental health and dealing with past things, and then they figured out how to work on it. So those were 3 things that I thought was special about this one.
Yeah, I agree. I also liked how, maybe it was the way that I read it, but I felt like a lot of it was a journey to self-love with both Chloe and Fred too, which is something that I don't read a lot of romance either. I like to think that I do, but I really don't. But I feel like with the other romances I've read, it's only been about their relationship with each other, not their relationship within themselves. So that's something that I appreciated too.
I agree.
Yeah, that's great. So it definitely felt to me. It definitely felt to me like it was published in 2019, and it definitely felt like a modern take. I think, or it felt like it had modern kind of sensibilities to some of the things that Angela, you mentioned there. So I also want to mention that we picked this book for Black History Month this month. We threw around a lot of ideas for books, and we ended up landing on this one. And I just wondered if someone wanted to speak to why, I guess, sort of we decided to go for a book like Get a Life, Chloe Brown, that's sort of a more positive, upbeat kind of atmosphere to it.
Yeah, I just thought that it would be, well, I mean, I didn't even think about this till after we said it, but it worked well also because this month had Valentine's Day, so it was nice to read a romance. But also, obviously, we talk a lot about in Black History Month, it's important to understand history, and it's also important to celebrate Black joy and Black love. And I thought that, we all kind of chimed in and agreed that it was nice to read a positive story about someone. As you said, it's a lot about self-love and growing and learning, and I thought that this book did a great job doing all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to bring that up. And I just figured out how to look at the comments section. So we've got a few people watching. Hi there. Read wine. I always want to switch the read and the wine when I read that.
I like the comment. He was like understanding?
Question mark?
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
That's a good human being.
Yeah. All right. So I think I wanted to start by talking about the characters because they're so central to I guess the characters are so central to any romance and to this one in particular. But talking about Chloe, what do you think made her decide to make the Get a Life list What do you think of the items on her list? If you were to make a list, would you choose similar items or different items? Yeah, what does this list say about Chloe, I guess?
She wants to be dangerous.
Camping, so dangerous.
Camping, yeah.
Hey, her lifestyle, the way they were
Oh,
talking,
this was so
I was just cracking up. I was like, oh, it's not that groundbreaking, but it's okay.
I like how she said that it's like to build up her bravery back. Like she started low and then worked her way up to ending on traveling the world with a carry-on or something like that.
Yeah.
A backpack. Yeah.
And luggage.
Yeah. I think that
And
would probably
luggage,
be something like mine, like traveling, but yeah, that's kind of more dramatic. I think mine would probably be a little more dramatic than hers.
Yeah, I think mine definitely would have a little bit harder things on it, but it like makes sense though, because she's lived with this chronic pain. So things that we take we take for granted that we can do easily is harder for someone who has that pain all the time, right? Like camping.
Mm-hmm.
What's hilarious about this is that like, so I can relate to Chloe in the sense that like I am a list maker. I like things to be a certain way. I don't necessarily do things that would be dangerous or like outside of like this little box that like I can find myself into. So I completely understand sort of just wanting to write down and like challenge yourself in ways that may be just like normal to other people, like somewhat dangerous to the average person, like go on a motorcycle, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I thought it was so cool that she did that. It was like things in her life that she may not otherwise be able to do, and she wanted to challenge herself to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely relate with the list making as well. But yeah, I think it was neat that some of the items are things that don't seem, too groundbreaking, but to her were, really a step along the way. So we've talked about Chloe, and I was wondering what you all thought about Red or Redford. Is he the kind of heartthrob that we were promised on the back of the book? Do we like Redford, I guess?
I like Redford.
I like the tone. I like Redford.
I have mixed emotions.
Yeah.
That I can't talk about until like we get into the spoilers. So
let's get into the spoilers. I want to see.
I want to know.
Yeah.
This is going to be a hot take, probably.
Oh man, you should get a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, they had no business being together, I think.
Ooh.
But here's the thing: I like them as friends. I didn't buy them romantically as much as I wanted to. And I'm so frustrated because I wanted to love them so bad.
Pourquoi? Why?
Yeah.
Because without like getting too like personal with me, but like, you know how at the end when they had gotten to that big argument and they were he was projecting his past relationship on her and she was projecting all of her stuff on him. Mm-hmm. I feel like they weren't ready to be together, and Chloe said that, and I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think that they were ready.
I think they were very explosive in certain things like that. Like, because I completely understand, like from experience too, that like, yeah, you can be, for lack of a better word, triggered by things, or you immediately feel those emotions that you felt before and you want to get out, and you might overreact, like that happened in that scene. But then I think that like they took it too far. Like instead of communicating and being like, hey, she's like, I'll get my journal, I'll show you what it says. And he didn't even let her do that. And then she also was immediately shutting down too. Like they both kind of like, instead of having that instinct and gut reaction that was wrong and then like communicating and working through it, yeah, they did kind of like, I see what you mean. Like they kind of just like went like 0 to 100 and then stayed that way and didn't really like, it was only until he was like outside that he kind of calmed down. But yeah.
Like in a, Chris said I'm always coming in hot. I'm sorry. Yeah. But here's what I thought was going to happen. In a perfect world, that was how their relationship was going to end at the last page, was we're not ready to be together, but we can be in the future, because there's 2 other books in the series too. So,
no, but they follow different people. They don't follow Chloe.
Yeah, but I heard that she made an appearance though.
I bet she makes an appearance, but I think it's like mainly focused on her sister Danny in the second one, and then her sister Evie in the third one.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know. I was cheering for them to like end like that, and then when they got back together, I was like, no. Yeah, I know.
What do you think? I guess what do you think would have to be different for them to be together in a healthy relationship, do you think? What was missing?
I don't think anything was missing. I just think it was time. Because it all happened pretty quickly.
It did. And that's something that I often find I don't buy into in romances, is just the time scale that things happen on. And that was actually one of my questions, was going to be like, did you buy into the time scale and how quickly they went from enemies to lovers? So it did have the enemies to lovers trope. Is that a trope that you like or that you buy into? They weren't strictly enemies, but they didn't like each other at the start of the book. I guess we've already touched upon it. But yeah, how did you feel about the pace of their relationship and how that progressed?
I thought it was kind of fast, honestly. I didn't think it was fast from like not liking each other to like liking each other and wanting to like kind of go on dates or hook up or stuff. But going from where they started to I'm in love with you felt kind of fast.
Yeah. And that was my problem, because although I feel the way that I feel about like how their relationship is at this point in like the series or whatever, like I do think it's realistic, but I just thought that they were, instead of facing their issues head on, they were kind of like grasping onto each other and using each other as a support, which is fantastic and it's realistic and it's great. But yeah.
I think they were also both mentioning how much they admire each other too. Like she watched him because she said he felt vital, alive, and she didn't feel the same way. And he admired and could see her, especially the differences between her and his ex. And yeah, I almost wonder if that had something to do with it too. Like they were almost like a breath of fresh air for each other, and I don't know, something like that.
What did you feel about the perspective of us jumping from seeing things from Chloe's perspective to then seeing things from Red's perspective? I feel like that's something that you don't always get in romances. The series often stuck in the head of one of the characters, or you're not able to kind of see the relationship from both sides. How did that work for you when you're reading the book?
I feel like I'm very, very used to that because I read a lot of fantasy. So that wasn't weird for me whatsoever. And I just it felt very normal to me. Yeah.
Do you ever have, though, when you don't expect it, because I didn't know it was multiple point of view, where you start reading and you think it's the other person and then you have to reread a ton because you're like, wait, I thought that this was Chloe.
Yes.
It's Red. What is happening?
Yeah.
That's what happened to me when we first switched. I was like, oh, I didn't know that it was dual perspective.
So continuing to talk about Red, why do you think Red's art? They talked about how his art changed, and why do you think Red's art changed, and how does his character develop over the course of the book?
I forget how his art changed. I read this a little bit ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think at the start of the book, he hadn't exhibited or shown his work since the end of his other relationship, and I think his previous work,
Right.
They talk about it sort of involving a lot of light and kind of, I don't know. I pictured it like kind of like, I don't know. I can't quite remember, but I pictured
like
it sort of
darker,
doing funny
right?
things with light, and then I think afterwards it being more like colorful and more.
Yeah, that's how I pictured it. I pictured it more as like monochromatic at the start and then just full of color and everything at the end. I don't know if monochromatic was the right word. Maybe it's not.
Literally couldn't picture it, and I'm realizing it now that you guys are talking about it. I'm like,
Well, I started trying to describe it and I couldn't find my words too. So
I was like, yo, that's probably wrong. I'm gonna look it up.
I mean, that's a good point. Like it does, you know, as I think Ysenia said, like this is about self-love and growth too. And I would obviously assume that it changed because he changed after his relationship. And yeah, that'll do it. After the stuff that he was talking about. I was surprised, like, so we're in spoilers, right?
Yeah, we're in spoilers.
Okay.
We're way.
I don't know. This is like kind of, to me, it relates to Red's art. That's why I'm bringing it up. Is I know that Talia Hibbert gave that trigger warning at the beginning, which was really nice, and it talked about how he was dealing with an abusive relationship. I didn't realize that it was physically abusive until like he started talking about like halfway through. Like this was even. I mean, there's something to be said about, you know, what abuse is the worst, because there's difficulties with every kind, but you know, verbal abuse was what it started with, and then all of a sudden it's just like, no, she does. Yeah, I can see how that would definitely change even just your outlook on things, to make you almost see the world differently potentially.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just Red. It was Chloe's relationship too, how her ex-fiance didn't believe her when she was saying that she was dealing with this chronic pain, and all of her friends abused that too and just left. So yeah, it's sad.
I know. That's what I mean. Does anybody here read a lot of romances?
I don't, but I used to read a lot of like manga that's romance, and watch a lot of anime as well that's romance. And this is completely like, this is different from it, because it was mostly just like high school sort of like romances that I would read. Like, think of, I don't know, just like fluff. Just fluff and cute, and like always like trying to discover something about someone else, and then falling for each other, and it just being all just perfect and that sort of thing. But some are actually like pretty deep as well. This is just very different.
I think the one that popped into my head, one of the few that I've read, and this is my hot take, is that the Unhoneymooners.
Yeah,
I did not like that book at all. And
oh, you were there.
I was in the comments, but I wasn't there. I really didn't like it, and so like to me, this one was. I'm sorry, Ysenia is about to fall off the chair. I'm sorry. It was just not. I don't know. They felt like fake problems that those two characters had. I don't remember their names. It felt like fake setup problems. Like, oh no, my boss happens to be in the same resort in Hawaii as me. How are we gonna do it? Like, it seemed fake. And I think like what Talia Hibbert did, like these seemed like real problem, like deep things that they were both working through, and like in so many different ways, not just mentally, but in some cases physically as well. And that was impressive to me and something new that, and again, I probably sound ridiculous because this might be a common thing in romance, but for me, in my very limited amount of romance, this was it totally surprised me because I'm not a fan of the smut part of it. And some of those lines, I was just like, like I actually read them out loud to my husband sometimes because I was like, listen to what they just said. I was like, dang.
I listened to the audiobook.
Oh,
Me too. Thank goodness I had my AirPods in, because if I was walking around my house as I normally do, listening to
it came out of nowhere sometimes too. It was just like a random thought that they would have. I was like, whoa. But it managed to like not like, it was so also very deep with the other things as well. It was like, I don't know how she managed to do both, but man, she did a really great job at that, I thought.
And I was going to ask about that too. Sex in books, like there's a lot of sex scenes in this book. Do you think they get the balance right? Like, I think more than just the sex scenes, there's a lot of like reference to their
there's some explicit language.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
And I was totally, am I the only one that was totally expecting it? Or
I totally expected it.
Yeah.
No, I did.
But I thought it was interesting how alongside like the comments on the emotional attachment and like having a crush on each other and then becoming friends at the start of the book, like alongside those feelings, we also get like their like physical sexual reaction to one another. Did that bother you? Did you think that was realistic?
Now I actually like, okay.
I just want to.
I'm just imagining you listening to it on audio
because I didn't know it was going to be this explicit.
Well, it just honestly, it irritates me a little bit that there are so many books that shy away from this type of language when I think it is totally normal, healthy, okay to have those feelings, thoughts, wishes, like in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel.
I just felt that the public thing, I was like, I that felt out of character to me. Like, I was like, I don't know that Chloe would be down to do that in public.
Just like how she could enjoy it to that extent in public.
Yes.
Like, I don't.
Some people like that.
Maybe that was the
I don't know.
The type that would, though, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that was on her bucket list, but it's nice to cross things off the list.
I mean,
add it to the list.
Should be on if it wasn't.
So, I have another hot take.
You didn't like the smut scenes.
I just have a question. Do you guys think that it flowed naturally the way that they were added in?
So the problem that I sometimes have with I don't want to say sex scenes because it wasn't even just sex scenes. It was just like reference to sexual attraction like throughout the whole, like, you know, for instance, the part where the public sex part, they describe her as like being completely overcome by desire and that sort of like overriding her reason and like being swept up in that. And I never quite buy that. And that's not just in this book, like in every book they talk about like becoming, you know, like so attracted to someone you can't help yourself or like overcome with like attraction or whatever. And I just never buy into that.
You didn't think that Red would stop his job to take care of himself in the middle of the afternoon because he couldn't withhold himself? that scene though, and then Chloe knocked on the door and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of know what you mean. Like, yeah, that's what I mean. I just like, I'm like, you're a grown man and you have to, didn't he like, he was in the middle of working and then he went home to take care of himself in the middle of the afternoon. Wasn't that it? Or was he
his work? So,
but I mean, you're not in your apartment, you're like working in other people's apartments. And then the thing about the other thing I didn't find realistic was like the first time you're going to do it is camping air mattresses. That's not going to work very well.
No,
like I was just like,
you're going to fall weird ways.
So
that's hard.
I kind of know what you mean, Laura. Like there were some things that I was kind of just like, I felt like it was almost just for the, but I mean, hey, maybe they're just a lot more
like
libido.
Yeah, like here, I think it's completely natural. Like Sara said, I'm so happy that it was included in this book just because it's a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, for example, for the public one, I legitimately had to look at my audiobook to see if I accidentally skipped ahead because I was like, how did we get from I'm going to touch your wrist while I'm helping you across the street to what they did? Like, I just,
It was a little bit of a jump.
I was just like, whoa. Like, I know the liquor wasn't that strong. Like, come on.
The only thing that bothered me about that was, like, I had to listen to the audiobook sometimes, and it was so hard for me to like listen to like the narrator and like not want to just like stop her and just like read it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I didn't like how it was narrated.
Yeah, I didn't like the audiobook at all.
I didn't like it. It just sounded like odd and like disconnected from what was like going on. So when I didn't have to listen to the audiobook, I was so much happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was all like good and well done. I almost just feel like the pacing, as we were talking about, like I feel like things happened very dramatically and quickly. Like it wasn't just like, hey, let's make out in public. It was like, no, this. And then, you know, I don't know. I just felt like the pacing of the levels of it was a little, and yeah, how long were they together? I mean, it doesn't matter because that's not necessarily relevant, but yeah, it's not relevant, but it's just like, I don't know. As you said, like they were like, oh, I can't even hold her hand without getting like feeling awkward and electricity. And then they're publicly doing that. And I was like, whoa.
Like, at a church.
On a public monument.
Wait, I missed that part. Oh my
It's like a monument in front of a church or something.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
So stepping away from sex towards different topic, which is the depiction of Chloe's fibromyalgia. How did you feel that was done? Do you think it was realistic? Where do you think the author, did well? And are there parts where you think the author didn't do as well in depicting Chloe's chronic illness?
I'm going to say I don't know because I do not have that experience. And I wonder does anyone know if she does? Was this writing from her own experience or from knowing people who have it, or?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I can check.
I thought it was very well done. To answer the question, I thought it was very well done as someone who doesn't have experience with it. Like it was very like, I don't think visceral is the right word. What's the word? To like it. Sometimes it felt like you could feel it, like you understood a little bit the way they described it. Like you're like, oof, gosh, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I don't necessarily mean specifically fibromyalgia, but just chronic illness in general. And for instance, like the way that they showed how her friends sort of distanced themselves from her when she first became ill, sort of the way that her family stuck with her, but other people didn't. The way that people made assumptions about her because her illness wasn't like visible. So I guess we're probably not all going to know about, the symptoms and the realities of what it's like to live with fibromyalgia, but just like chronic illness in general. Do you think it was a positive representation of life with chronic illness?
I think it was. I have chronic migraines, and so I understand a lot of like the sort of topics that she touched on. So, for instance, it's very difficult to make plans when you don't know when your symptoms are going to act up, or if you're going to have a good day or a bad day. And that can even extend into other things as well, like anxiety disorders, depressive disorders, those sorts of things, which are invisible to others, but are completely like strikingly visible to you because you're experiencing it like each and every day. So I think that she did do a good job of showing how it affects someone's daily life.
She has actually been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, so it's first experience. Yeah.
And like the recovery time and stuff too, I thought that was because I have some things that I can relate, like where sometimes okay, well, if I'm going to go walk around Disneyland all day long, I know the next couple of days I'm kind of gonna have to be like not do any plans, gonna be alone, sleep more, relax. And I liked how she said that line about getting 10 hours of sleep every night. She was like unapologetic. She's like, 10 hours of sleep. Yeah, I liked that too.
Come on.
Speaking of kitties, how she saved a kitty.
Yeah.
She dealt with the pain to save the cat.
Oh my gosh, the cat was probably my favorite part of the book. Not gonna
Oh
lie.
my gosh, totally.
Well, speaking of that, there were some pretty funny parts of the book, and I was just wondering if like any funny parts stand out to you. And the one that stood out for me was when she was rescuing the cat, which I thought was kind of hilarious, just sort of like the banter she was having with the cat and saying like, do you really need me to save you, or are you just making a fool of me, sort of thing. So yeah, what parts stood out to you as being like funny?
Literally like so much of what Chloe was like saying during the book. She was so sassy and freaking hilarious. I loved it. She could write anything and I would love it. Like when Angela like posted the like even like the author autobiography, freaking hilarious. I love her so much.
Her sense of humor, the deadpan, sarcastic humor too. And I get it how Red didn't always know if she was serious or not. And that little nuance when you get to know someone better and you can tell if they're joking or not. Yeah. So.
And it was like this like regal sarcasm. Like, I just loved it so much. I loved Red. I thought he was so like grumpy and he reminded me of Luke from Gilmore Girls, and I loved him so much because of that. I love their banter. I just like I don't know, it would be like if like Emily from the Gilmore Girls was like bantering with Luke just nonstop. It's like hilarious. I loved it.
I'm sorry. Speaking of cats, I gotta grab mine real quick.
No, I love the grandma. I thought she was hilarious. How she was just totally like snooty all the time, but like, a great grandma and loving her grandkids and stuff. It was so funny.
Loved it.
Oh, she was entertaining.
Favorite characters from anyone else?
The cat. Yeah.
The cat.
I loved her. I love too the interactions with her sisters so much, and I want to see more of it.
Read the next books. They follow the sisters, so
On it.
Yeah, I'm so excited that Danny's next.
I think Evie's my favorite sister.
Yeah.
She's just so cute.
I love them.
So Ysenia, you said you didn't like Red that much?
Hey,
I'm sorry.
that's what I said.
What'd you say?
No, I mean I liked them. They were good
No,
characters.
red.
Red specifically?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked him.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said earlier, like hot take, you didn't really like red.
There were moments where I didn't like Chloe and moments where I didn't like Red, but I liked them as characters. Do you know what I mean? I just love how dynamic both of them were.
Mm-hmm.
But,
And Sara mentioned their banter, which I think like made up a lot of the comedy of the book and was really fun to read.
I love their banter so much.
Oh, and I liked the whole idea of I think both of them said it at one point, but like what you want in a partner is someone to fill your like gaps in your own personality or like the way you handle things or whatever. Like I think that I think that they're good for each other, but not good for each other that quickly. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know.
Maybe it could have been over 2 or 3 books. It might have been better.
Well, I think even if we even had an inkling of, even if this book was over like a 6-month period or like a year period, I think it could have benefited from that. I think that the epilogue was a year later, right?
Yeah.
So
I think we touched upon it already, but how did you feel about the ending? Did it deliver what you were expecting? Were you satisfied by the ending?
I forget what happened.
I kind of forget too, so obviously it wasn't earth-shattering. But
So obviously big spoilers, but basically so do you remember, what part did you forget after? He was doing everything he could to get her back, to make that feel trustworthy. And then she decided after she talked to her grandma that it's worth it to try. And then they get together, and then there's an epilogue a year later where they're in New York together to see the art museum that he didn't get to go to. Yeah. So I'm assuming.
And then at that point, he had called her his girlfriend, so they were like in a fully committed relationship. But he made his own list at the end too, when he was trying to prove to her that
was cute.
Yeah, it was cute.
She's like begrudgingly.
It was fine. It was cute.
No, it was the jar with the hair ties was so thoughtful, and I was like, okay, this is
like the easy push thing.
Yeah. See, that's the kind of thing that I think. I'm sure people know this, but like, it's those things that are the best. It's not the grand gestures all the time. It's not like a bunch of flowers. Like, granted, those are all great. Everything's great, agreed. But the thing, like, we're swooning over a jar with hair ties in it, and that was like the most thoughtful, sweet thing, because it's like those little things, and they pay attention to like specific things that you would need and want or enjoy, and that was so cute.
Red was very thoughtful. His character.
He was.
I almost thought it was a little. Well, no, I could see it, because I was gonna say like how he would like agree to dinner with some people because he felt guilty and bad for her. Like in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if people would actually do that, but I guess
I would do that.
You would probably do that. Yeah,
I would totally do that.
I would have made up an excuse. I would have lied. I'd been like,
if you can't think of one fast enough, sometimes you get stuck.
Yeah.
You're just like, I can't think of anything we're doing. And they're like, great.
Do you have a pet, right?
No. We don't.
Oh no, you pet the cat that was outside. I remember the videos where you were petting the kitty outside.
That's what I thought of too.
I was just like, if you have a pet, you just be like, oh, I gotta feed them or take them for a walk.
No, I don't have a pet or kids. I have like no excuses.
I forget what happens to the cat.
Oh, he gets him back.
Yeah. Oh, they get them back. They get him back. Smudge.
Because she becomes friends with Annie, the owner, and so she just gives Smudge to her, I guess.
That's the ending I like.
Yeah.
It was a pretty satisfying ending. Like, it ticked all the boxes. Like, yeah. It arrived where we wanted to be. So, yeah, I was kind of worried at the start of the book when they were talking about Red, you know, being soft on everyone and, you know, accepting the dinner invitation, because I thought they were going to go into the Red is with Chloe because he enjoys caring for people and it didn't go that way. And I was like, at the start of the first, I was so sure it was going to go that way. But fortunately it didn't. So yeah. And actually, so I've gone through all of my questions. Are we ready to talk about whether it is a top shelf read, or does anyone else have something to add before then?
I would just say that, like, the book, I don't know if anybody else, like, but I felt like the book surprised me in, like, a lot of ways. Like, it surprised me how funny it was. And, like, it surprised me when they did multiple perspectives because I didn't expect that. I didn't know it took place in the UK either. And so, like, as soon as they talked about a cuppa and the ambulance drivers giving her tea, I was like, oh, that's not America. This is Great Britain for sure. And so I was like, yeah. And so, and like, that surprised me. It was cool. Like, their banter, like I like how, like, we were talking about the depth of things, and I don't know, like, I just felt like overall that I was very pleasantly surprised with a lot of things in this book. And I just thought it was like, and especially because, you know, we're talking about the character, as she said, it's not just about a romance. It was about her stepping into her bravery and realizing how she really is very brave and strong. And it's just, I don't know, just saying kudos to the book. It was really, like, it just kept surprising me, and I would laugh a lot and I would do things, and it was a good romance book from someone who doesn't read romance.
Well, and that's a good point, because at the back, at the back, you wouldn't even know, you know, the synopsis that I read at the beginning of this live stream, you wouldn't even know it was a romance book. It's the synopsis is about Chloe's personal development and her, like, quest to improve herself as a person. And so it's almost like that story goes along with the romance. So it's sort of a nice balance in that way. Yeah.
Olivia keeps trying to eat my cupcake, and I keep having to take her away from going on the table and eating my cup. You cannot have a cupcake.
All right. Who wants to start? Was this a top shelf read for you? Ysenia, I'll pick on you to start with.
No. Oh, my last hot take. I gave it 2.5 stars.
Ooh.
Your room just got, like, really dark.
I know.
To match the mood.
I'm really sick, and oh my goodness,
It's hiding me from the shame.
There's no shame. I gave The Unhoneymooners 2 stars, barely.
Which is crazy because I gave that 5 stars.
Wow.
You gave it 5? Oh my goodness.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so we've already said no shame because everybody has different tastes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Ysenia, where did it lose stars for you?
I'm trying to think back. I just felt very meh about everything. That's like I know that's not
but sometimes
correctly, but like I just kind of felt like there were the cute moments at the end were lovely, but it wasn't enough for me to give it a higher rating. And I mean, like, I just didn't buy into the relationship very much. There are things that I appreciated a lot, but it just kind of fell flat for me as a romance.
Yeah. There's not always, one thing that stands out. Sometimes it's just sort of a feeling. Yeah.
But I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Well, I can bounce off of what you just said, because you just said as a romance, it wasn't, you were mad about it. And I'm like the opposite. Like, for me, if we're talking about the category of romance, this would be for me. Like, I can't really think as of like a better relationship, or like, because even the family of Chloe was really entertaining and great to Viva, and his family with his mom, like, there was so much depth to this that went just beyond like the couple. And normally my problem with romance is that I want a plot and I don't just want to read about a couple. And so for me, like as a romance in that genre, this would be a top shelf, but romance isn't a top shelf genre for me. So like this is not quite a top shelf book for me because like it's just not as interesting when I compare it to other books. But like for romance, I really, and when I say for romance, I want to make it clear that I think romance is great. Like a lot of people, not a lot, but some people, you hear the discourse of people like looking down on romance, stuff like that. I'm like, no, romance is great. When I say not for me, I have no problems with it at all. I think it's fantastic. It's just not my favorite genre. And so the opposite, I guess, of Ysenia, I thought that this was a top shelf romance book, but not quite a top shelf overall book. Does that make sense?
So if you had a bookshelf of only romance books, it would go in the top shelf.
Exactly. Very well put. Exactly. That and like Jane Austen, I really liked those. Those were great.
Sara and Olivia.
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna oh gosh, how do I do this? Okay. In terms of like the book, I could just read her writing style. I love it. I think that she's hilarious. She could be talking about like a shopping cart list. I don't care, like, and make it funny. Like I love her sense of humor, and I loved Red's sense of humor. Now, like for me, like a top shelf read is like I would want to like reread the book from start to finish. And I think that I would like cling on to that. Like, and there have been books like that, Mexican Gothic, which maybe not everyone else's, but for me, it's like just where is it? I don't.
Have you reread it?
I've reread parts of it.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
I love it so much, and I want to like draw it and like everything. It's very like I love it. So in terms of this book for me, when I want to read romance, I would probably read it again. And I would reread parts of it. Like for me, it's like a solid 4.4. So it's pretty good. Top shelf though, I'm pretty harsh. Like it's not on my top shelf because there's only a few going on the top shelf. But I would absolutely recommend it to anyone who wants to read like a funny, witty, cute, insightful book during this time of year. And I think it was great. I enjoyed this one more than the Honeymooners, I would say. I'm sorry. But there was an issue I had with the Honeymooners, and I thought that they made the male
Ysenia has left the room.
I thought that they made him like too like says the right things at all the right times, and that just bothered me a little bit.
I thought that you left.
Enough of them.
I'm done.
I think just when I read romance, I think I just want light and fluffy and fun. I'm realizing the more I'm hearing like your guys' points of view, I'm like, I think give me the Honeymooners again.
I think I might have said the Honeymooners was a top shelf read though. So I don't really know, like I would put this as a top shelf read for romance. But as like my ultimate like top shelf read, it's not quite on the top shelf, but it's like it's up there.
Well, and like for anybody tuning in, like we're not saying that these two books are comparable. It's just that these are two that we've read as a book club that are romance. So we all know that we know how to compare it. So like, I wouldn't say Get a Life, Chloe Brown and the Honeymooners are like the same thing or anything like that. It's just that we all know we've read that. So that's why we keep comparing
I also think they're kind of interesting to compare though, because I think the Honeymooner follows a lot of tropes that we're familiar with. in ways that maybe like Get a Life Chloe Brown does too to certain extents. I just think they're kind of interesting to compare in that way, like sort of along the lines of what Sara says, like, you know, the lead in the Unhoneymooners always says the right thing, and it's sort of the archetype of what a perfect lead is, where you know, Get a Life Chloe Brown does some different things, I think.
Does it have any tropes in this one?
Well, there's the like enemies to lovers,
the miscommunication trope.
Yeah,
exactly. Those two tropes, though.
Insta love.
Yeah.
No, I felt like it was more like Insta lust, which is a little more understandable.
That's I think Insta lust.
Stephanie, what did you think? Top shelf?
I feel like I'm the same way as Angela, where I don't think very many romances, like contemporary romances, are gonna be on top shelf for me, just because that's not my favorite genre. But I do agree. I think it was a really well done romance book. I thought that both the characters, at least like they had a lot of depth, and like you really got to know their backstories and stuff. I don't know. I thought that the characters was well done. I actually think the smut scenes were well done. Like I didn't have a problem with those. It was weird because I was like listening to it while I was working out, so like that was odd. But yeah, that's not the book's fault. So yeah, I see it, like if someone's going to ask me for a romance recommendation, I would definitely give this as a recommendation. I think it was great. Like it was funny, it was fun, it was a good time. It's not my favorite genre, you know. I never gonna love a romance book, like a contemporary romance, like the best. It's not ever gonna be my favorite. So it's not the book's fault. It's just my reading taste.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll follow up with that as well. So for me, it just wasn't really my thing. Not that I think it failed in any way in what it was trying to do. But yeah, it just wasn't my thing. So I definitely wouldn't say top shelf for me. But I actually, I'm with Ysenia. I preferred the Unhoneymooners.
Yay!
In the weird way that, like, I think there were some moments in this where there was a few eye roll moments in this for me at things that Red said or like certain situations throughout the book. And in the Unhoneymooners, I think those tropes were there, so I expected those things. And so it was like Ysenia said earlier, it was like a kind of comfort, like you knew what to expect, I guess. But yeah, I definitely also enjoyed this book. Not my.
So no one put it as a top.
Could I say something? I've been like, I think I talked about it, but I think we might have talked about it on StreamYard after we ended the live for the Song of Achilles last month. So like, I just want to say it like publicly too, because I can't remember if I did or not. I almost feel like the title of our book club doesn't lend the greatest when we talk about books, when we say, is it a top shelf read? Because I feel like if we say no, we're almost like implying that it's not good enough, but there's still so much value to books. Like the Song of Achilles, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, The Unhoneymooned, like all of these books, like they're fantastic books to read. And we all like, just because the same as Sara, like I am so picky. I rarely rate books 5 stars. Like I'm so picky. So just because it's not a top shelf, like doesn't mean that these aren't really, really good books. And so it's like, I hate to think that like people are like, oh no, none of them thought it was a top shelf, so it's not worth it. I'm like, no, but it is worth it to read it. Like
it is a top romance shelf book for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Like for in that genre, but I can't really think of very many romances that I would ever put in my top shelf.
Yep. I mean, Pride and Prejudice.
Right? Okay.
about it.
Yeah.
For like just romance, books that are like actually just like romance genre, not like ones that have romance in them, but like fantasy romance. Like those are kind of different to me.
I do like the concept of top shelf in that, though, when you're reading, you're always looking for that book that was like Mexican Gothic for Sara, for instance. Like you're always looking for that book where you just get totally obsessed with it. And oh my God. But there's definitely, a lot of shades of gray, and there's a lot of shelves below the top shelf, where you can place your books.
So I guess we should just like say that, when we ask each other if it's a top shelf, it's more for fun, but that doesn't reflect on the book as like, because like that we were talking about the Song of Achilles. That was a wonderful book, but I don't think many of us said it was a top shelf, but it was still like, I wouldn't want anyone to like not want to read it because they're like, oh, well, nobody thought it was top shelf. But like, no, it's still really valuable and good and great. And that's how I feel about this one too. So it's just like, I guess the top shelf is more like for fun.
But the Song of Achilles, like that was it like I would not put it in my ultimate like shelf. But like, can the like top shelf be like
shelves? Like, can we be like top shelves?
We could say this is on my fourth shelf, my fifth shelf.
Yeah,
we have to decide how many shelves our bookshelf has.
I'm going to be honest though, like if people watch to this point where we say whether it's top shelf or not, they probably already read it, So we're not stopping anyone from reading it.
That's totally fair. They wouldn't have watched a spoiler thing.
But I just want to bounce off of Angela's comments and say, like, even though I clearly was the one that rated this hecka low compared to everybody else, but is this staying on my shelf? Yes. Am I going to be recommending this book to people? Of course, because there are, I don't think as a top shelf society, not to toot our own horn, but I don't think we've picked a bad book. And I read Emma, so
that was probably our least.
That was divisive. That was the first one. And I loved how differently we thought about the book. I loved that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mackenzie says, I don't think the name lends to a negative view. You all talked about what you really liked as well, and there are many things you really enjoy about the book. So I guess we don't get to the top shelf rating until the end of the video. We've already sort of picked things apart, which I think is kind of important. So
one thing that's interesting, though, is that I had a chat with Bridget, who I don't think is here today, but she will watch our lives all the time. And she always like reads the books, like Bridget books. And like, it's funny because she told me that like, usually like when we like are going around, like she'll feel similarly that like I feel towards books or something like that. So I think that is kind of curious. Like I'm always trying to figure out like myself, like, is this like a Stephanie book? Is this like a book? Is this a Laura book? Yeah. Like Ysenia? Like I actually like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm always curious. And did you guys expect that we would say what we said?
Honestly, yeah. I think most people's reactions I would have expected.
I think Ysenia, I thought you'd like it more.
I thought that I was going to love this.
I thought so
but
too.
I was really scared coming in because I thought that you guys weren't going to really like it either. But I'm so happy that all of you enjoyed it.
It's funny because in other, like for me, in other things that I feel like the Unhoneymooners, sorry, I'm coming back to this Unhoneymooners comparison because it's the romance book that we've all read, like Angela said. But I feel like there was a lot of sort of like tricks with the plot there where it was you wanted to know whether they were going to get together. Maybe they're not going to get together. Whereas like Get a Like Chloe Brown is more about like the personal journeys of the characters, kind of like less so than a page turner. And normally when I read things, I prefer it to be character based. But I think when maybe this is sort of wrong in the way that I'm reading things, but when I pick up certain genres like romance, it's almost like I expect the more page turner kind of read. And so I wonder if that like primed me to like the Unhoneymooners more. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to be revisiting this in the future. And one thing that I do think hindered my enjoyment was listening to the audiobook. Because if I
The
were to
audiobook sucks.
if I were to like,
Honestly.
compare the time I spent physically reading versus the time I spent listening, I listened to this way more than I physically read.
Will you read the rest of the series and
Yeah.
like everyone? I guess
Everyone, yeah.
I wouldn't.
I might read. I think I'd be more apt to read Evie's book than Danny's, but I don't know if it comes up.
Is Evie the youngest or the
Mhm.
yeah.
Who's the youngest one?
But I think Danny's is fake dating. So that's her trope,
That is hers, yeah.
which could be fun. I'm not sure what Evie's is because I didn't read that description.
Ever really fake date? Like it happens in books all the time, but really, does anyone do that?
What is fake dating?
It's like you pretend to date for some beneficial reason, mutual benefit. Like,
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
do people do that?
I've
Some
never done
people
it
do
for a
that.
period of time. I've done it in the club though. Like, hey, pretend you're my boyfriend. So
It can be done for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
Like it can be done to like have a date, like to people do that to like impress like their ex or something like that. Like they see their ex with like someone, so they're like, I want to like act like you guys, my friends are interesting. There's but I read a lot of romance this month compared, like usually it's 0, but like I think I read like 5 or
What'd you read?
6, or I read I was doing the Black Author Readathon, so like I read The Wedding Date. That one was by Jasmine Gilroy,
Yeah.
and
I've read one of them.
that's fake dating.
What'd you think about that one?
Okay. There's a I wasn't the craziest fan about that one, but I want to read the second one because it'll be like having different characters as well. I read Nicola Yoon's Everything Everything.
Okay.
And that's like a pretty like famous like YA like book. I love her writing so much. I think you can't go wrong with Everything. And also The Sun Is Also a Star, like beautiful book again by Nicola Yoon. And Bingo Love, which was LGBT, which was like so adorable. It is like lost lover type thing, like rekindling like an old relationship, because at the time they couldn't be in a relationship like and be accepted by like their families, but then later on things change. And yeah, some other stuff too. So yeah, but this was definitely a book that like I was excited to get back to reading.
Speaking of
very excited about it.
Speaking of romances, so we like in the books that we've read, we have Chloe and Red, we had Patroclus and Achilles, we had Emma and Mr. Knightley, we had Olive, and what was Olive's man?
That's what I mean.
Ethan. Why do I know that? I didn't even like it, you guys.
Ethan.
Because you're secretly a stan, Angela.
I haven't read it in like 2 years. I don't know how I remember that.
Am I missing any?
In the House of the Brilliancy,
Linus
Yes.
and Arthur?
Arthur and
Well, Emma and
Emma, Mr. Knightley.
Yeah.
Arthur and who was with
Linus, right?
Linus?
No.
Could you
Yes.
consider the Mexican Gothic romance?
I was just
I knew you were laughing about that.
laughing because it was like the worst.
Yeah.
Like,
Not a great
I
romance.
could not with that relationship. Oh my god.
That too. That one was.
Wait, what are you?
The Mexican Gothic, the romance, the way it ended was technically romance, but
Oh yeah. No, but Francis and what was the girl in Mexico? I can't remember any of the characters. Noemi, thank you. Yeah, Noemi.
Oh, they just had it was the worst.
Do you? So okay, Chloe Redford, Patroclus Achilles, Emma Mr. Knightley, Olive Ethan, Arthur Linus, Francis Noemi. Favorite? Does anyone have a favorite couple?
Can I just pick a favorite one?
You can, yeah.
I like Mr. Knightley, but I'm not a fan of Emma, but I love Mr. Knightley. So
I also love Mr. Knightley.
I'm gonna ditto that.
I'm sticking to my guns. Olive and Ethan. Their relationship is so fun.
Am I missing any relationships? I don't think so. We read about
remember all the
6.
books
So
that
that
we
means
read.
6 out of the 9 books.
Rebecca.
in
Rebecca.
Rebecca,
Oh, yeah. Rebecca.
yeah, that's
and-
another level.
character and
Well, not Rebecca.
Yeah, we all
We don't know her name.
God.
And Mr. De Winter.
yeah, just
She didn't have a
just the
name
winter,
yet.
I guess.
I don't think that
one
was
great.
no. I
But
mean,
it
like
was there.
it went to a dark place.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting how, like, that's all but 2 of the books that we've read. And the 2 that didn't have romances at the center of them were, I mean, not that
Because Black Girl Unlimited didn't have a romance, did it?
Black Girl Unlimited and Fahrenheit 451 didn't really have.
Not. I mean, they had relationships.
They have relationships.
but I wouldn't call them romance books.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't really call Rebecca a romance, but like
Yeah.
a relationship at the center of it. But it's interesting how many of the books we read, you know, have relationships and have romance, obviously, because it's such a big part of life. But it's funny how all of these books contained romances, and then some of them we label in the genre of romance, and some of them we don't. Because we were comparing this automatically to The Unhoneymooners when the last book that we read had a romance at the center as well, but it was just so different in that it wasn't a contemporary romance, and you know, had the elements of myth retelling and other things going on there. But yeah,
I almost feel like the Song of Achilles was mainly a romance.
I think so too.
Like it.
So
I would. I mean, I know was it technically fiction, but like on the shelf of a fiction shelf, but like it was a romance.
Yeah.
In my heart, it's not
I think that's how I classify it. It's horrible.
Non-fiction romance.
Historical.
I think it's historically accurate.
Yeah.
I want it to be.
Yeah, but like, I think at the end of the day, everybody likes reading about romance, but then we have these extra, like, we still will label some things as romance and other things as not romance, and we have these extra kind of I guess stereotypes that come along with the romance genre that we don't put on other things. So anyway, I think that is it for today. Okay. I guess last thing, if your life flashed before your eyes, is there one thing in a Chloe Brown style list that you think you would have to get done before you die, I guess?
Oh.
That's a good one.
Does anyone in the comments have something to help us?
Yeah. Also, you
comments.
don't need to share it because that's, you know, a pretty personal question.
A
But
general one would just be travel. I mean, I've never been able to travel outside of North America. Like, I would really like to travel to another continent, because I was just talking about the other night, like how, you know, when you're in America, basically, like, that's, you almost like don't really realize that other people, I mean, it's a very, not self-centered, but like, I don't know, like, I would love to be taken out of North America and put someplace else and like really experience that, like, hey, not everything is the way that you've always known it to be. And like, that's fantastic. Like, I think it would be a good culture shock to like experience another, you know, way of life. And that was something that I've always wanted to do. But
Yeah, my mind instantly went to travel too.
yeah.
But yeah.
Sarah,
Yeah.
Stephanie?
Yeah, I mean, travel is a huge one. I feel like I'd love to travel more. I have gotten to do quite a bit actually, and I was able to live in another country for an extended period of time. So that it's very different experience. But I mean, just even being like, okay, yeah, I lived in Asia for a while, like a long time. I mean, Africa is so different, and Europe's so different, and South America is so different. So I don't know, like all of them would be amazing experiences. So I think it'd be cool to be able to go to every continent. I think that'd be really awesome.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, jumping on the travel. I mean, I've also got to do a good amount of travel, and I was in South Korea, and I've also lived in France. And I'm addicted to it. Like, I love it. But like something to flash before my eyes, I think to have lived a good life, like I would want to have created something, whether it's like some sort of artistic work, like writing, or like in my line of work, like I would want to be able to see something concrete and, you know, physical that I had brought about. And I don't feel like I have done that at this point. So that's my thing. Sarah and Olivia, do you have anything to add?
Oh yeah, if we don't move to Portugal, like I'll be pissed. If we don't move to Portugal, I'll be very upset. Like, so we have to. That's it.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah.
What's that?
Announce your book for next month.
Yes.
Woo!
So thank you for tuning in, and please don't forget to join in. I am right now searching the date of. Did we set the date of our next live show? Didn't we?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we did.
It was a
minute. That's something I should have written down. This is why, Kristin, we missed you. All right, I found it. But the next pick for the Top Self Society for the month of March is the Midnight Library. And our March live show is set for, and I thought I found it.
Yes. I think it's the last Friday in March, but I'm not sure.
Here, I'll look.
Last Friday in March, is it March 26th?
It kind of sounds right.
We're also doing this on February 26th, which is. I didn't do my homework.
Oh my
Well, we will post it regardless. We'll post it throughout the month.
Oh, Twitter, so
Yeah, the important thing is that we're reading the Midnight Library, and you should read it too, so that you can follow us next month.
Wait, we have somebody's list.
Yes.
Bring it up.
Oh,
You
yay!
have the power,
That's
Laura.
a good one too. That's
Yes.
kind of like Laura a little bit, like
It is.
creating.
I think I'd like to build something with my hands, like a bookshelf or something.
I've built a bookshelf. I should come help you. That's fun.
I've built a bookshelf from IKEA.
I did it as like a freshman project.
Do you mean like create or like assemble?
No,
Like-
create.
like design.
I don't know. That's what I'm getting is she wants to create her own bookshelf.
Oh my god, the healthiest design of bookshelf. I could never. Oh my goodness. Not even out of like toothpicks.
But going back to our live show, I believe that we settled on March 26th.
Okay.
At the same time at 6 p.m.
Ma'am.
I should also mention same time,
From scratch.
March 26th, The Midnight Library by Matt
Matt
Haig.
Haig.
Yeah, I didn't mention the author earlier. Oh,
You should totally do it. I still have mine from when I was a freshman. Like, you should do it. And then you should take a picture and show us.
At first, I thought you guys meant like assemble, and I was like, that should not be the thing that you do.
assemble my IKEA bookshelf.
Until I read it again, and I was like, build it. Like, oh my gosh. Okay.
I want to be able to walk through IKEA and just grab whatever I want and walk out. All fine. I don't have to worry about the price.
That'd be nice.
All right, everyone. We are going on an hour and 25 minutes, so I think it's time to say good night.
Hey.
All right. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Now I have to figure out how to
And